following exchange between a brother at war and a sister at home is typical of many letters sent during the First World War. The letters evoke the sense of fear, loneliness, loss, and hope that many felt at war and at home. October 9th, 1914. Dear Edgar, there are such a lot of wounded soldiers in town. It makes quite a lump come into my throat to see them. One chap without a foot, another with only one leg, and others limping in arms and splints. Then there are quite a lot of widows about. Some are quite young. One girl I saw on widow's weeds was certainly not more than 20. Harveys of Sefton Park have had their 2 sons killed, and someone else has lost all 3 sons. However, the War Office won't release any men. They are all wanted, and now recruits are not coming in quick enough because we have now got to the men who have dependents and who'd have to sacrifice them to their country. The pay they get will pay their rent and rates, and so what are they to do? Love from Ada.
Oft times at night, when I restlessly lie, the thoughts of war return to me again. And buried pictures from the past come to my eye. I see again the days before Louvain. A dusty road that winds through fields of corn, that ripens neath the early summer sun, is cluttered up with refugees forlorn, all fleeing from the terror of the Hun. The farm carts creaking neath their heavy load, the tired little children trotting by its side. They rumble on with what was their abode, while anguished mothers try their tears to hide. As in the distance the sounds of battle roll, then, up to heaven, each one turns their eyes. The German bombers come to take their toll. The wings of death come screaming from the skies. And I, a soldier, standing there, am helpless but to offer up a plea, and can with horror simply stand and stare, and say, God save them from this misery. Be still those foolish tongues which speak of war. Wake up those minds that easily forget. Nor let the people suffer horrors more. May common sense and kindness conquer yet.
Despite the significant age gap between Preston Erdict and myself, we have become great friends, and there is no one I respect more. Mr. Erdict is 91, a veteran of World War II, and has lived in a rehabilitation center for 30 years due to wartime injuries and post-traumatic stress disorder. I have always admired Mr. Erdict for his optimism amidst what others describe as a tragedy. While people have confused Remembrance Day with a holiday as opposed to a day of solemn memory, Mr. Erdict has never forgotten those he left behind, the ones who came home with him, or the continued generations of veterans. Every year he makes drawings for the families of his fallen comrades and for the children whose parents are currently serving. Unfortunately, due to his noise sensitivity, he could not be here today to tell his story himself, but instead has written me a letter to read to you. I joined the Army in December 1939 as a private in the Royal Regiment of Canada. At the age of 18, I enlisted because my father had told me that it was my duty to serve my country as he had done in the First World War. Several months later, I found myself at Dieppe. On that awful morning in August 1942, my comrades and I landed at Blue Beach at Pewes in full daylight. We had been trained to disembark the landing craft quickly, so that as soon as the craft hit the beach, it would reverse its engines and make a quick getaway, and avoid getting blown up by mortar shells. In the moment, though, survival comes before tactics. We had been trained to run a short distance up the beach and drop down, then get up again and drop once more. But as I dropped and looked around, I realized that none of the men were getting up again. They were dead. With every loud noise, I assumed I was dead. Have you ever heard death? The noise was unbelievable. There was blood everywhere, and when I reached for the hand of my closest mate, a lad from Vancouver Island, I realized the blood was mostly his. My closest friend here had died right next to me, and I hadn't even noticed. I scanned the bodies for my brother's freckled face, but knew he probably hadn't even made it to the beach. I shot men that day. I took lives. Though they were trying to do the same to me, I still look at my hands and see murder on them. The Germans had family too, I thought. Family that would cry the same tears at the same loss. But I was so mad that day I didn't care. I had to crawl underneath the still warm bodies of my comrades to try and advance, but a German rifleman grabbed me, and I was taken as a prisoner of war. I was 19. My hands were shackled to the tools I had to work with in the camp, and something as small as an itch on my head seemed like a horrid torture. It was dehumanizing. I lost a lot of weight, and my hair and fingernails began to fall out. Eventually, I was moved to a concrete room filled with 20 other bomb-happies. Some of the men rolled around on the ground and sucked their thumbs, and one man picked individual hairs off his arms and lined them along the perimeter of the cell. I was the least crazy of my bunch, my insanity only present during the night, or with unsuspected noises, and if someone touched me without warning. I suppose I was the least mad because I could recognize it. Refusing to eat the stale crusts we were served, the others died quite quickly. I remained a prisoner there until just before the end of the war, when I was freed in April 1945. My homecoming was bittersweet, since many of my comrades, some of whom I had known since childhood and through school, would not be returning with me. I never regained full function of my body or my mind. When I got back, both my parents had passed, and my sister had moved away and changed her name with marriage. Without any family or friends, I came home to nothing. There's never a day in my life that I haven't thought about the war. I lost my brother and 4 of my best friends at Dieppe, and I said to myself, I will remember them every day. And that was a mistake because it bothers me each bloody day. I never did escape the war. I can handle it now, but I still question God why I got to survive when so many others didn't. It's not a pleasant feeling, but I bear it because I know it was not in vain. I sincerely hope that people don't forget that. I remember each hour, each day. And I hope that everyone else can take that one day a year to honor the sacrifices that me and my friends made for you. Thank you.